Love has a language. Survival has a dialect, if you will. One speaks in softness, clarity, reassurance, and emotional availability. The other speaks in silence, vigilance, reaction, and emotional restraint. When those two dialects meet, it's not that two people stop loving each other, they just simply stop understanding each other. Someone raised on love will ask questions to get closer. Someone raised on survival will shut down to stay safe. Someone raised on love will ask, let's talk. Someone raised on survival will hear, you're failing. And until we recognize the dialect we're speaking essentially to one another, we'll keep confusing protection for distance and distance for disinterest. Most relationships aren't dying due to a lack of love. They're suffocating under unspoken survival habits. Most Black people in our community haven't even been out of survival mode long enough to even know the difference. When your parents are in survival mode and their parents were in survival mode, and you grew up watching everybody maneuver through life in survival mode, being used as a substitute for affection, it simply becomes normal. And if survival is all you've ever known, love without struggle feels boring, suspicious, even unsafe. So today we're peeling that back, and it's about to get pretty real, very transparent, very layered, very personal. Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Everything is Onions, where we peel back the layers of life, love, culture, healing, relationships, and everything everybody else is too scared to talk about out loud. Whether you're brand new here, or you have been peeling with me since the beginning, since day one, thank you for being here. And thank you for listening, also subscribing. I'm your host with the most, Koko, and our onion up today is love versus survival. Be sure to subscribe, make sure you leave a comment, and let's get into our layers for today because, baby, this one is one that we need to talk about. To really understand love versus survival, we need to peel back the internal layer first, the layer inside of us, the layer that we inherited, the stuff that we are conditioned into, the stuff that we don't even know we're operating from. Survival mode is not just about bills or childhood or the hood or trauma. Survival mode is also emotional. It's mental, it's spiritual, it's relational. It's the way your nervous system responds to closeness. It's the way you react to affection. It's the way you shut down when things feel overwhelming. It's also the way you pick partners based on old wounds you haven't even figured out how to stop from bleeding yet. A lot of people think that survival mode is only loud, like yelling, arguing, chaos. But survival mode is also quiet. It's numb. It's disconnected. It's, I love you, but I don't know how to let you close. It's, I want intimacy, but my brain equates vulnerability with danger. It's when you love me too softly, I don't trust it because softness has never been safe for me. Yeah. Black women, especially, have been taught to survive before we've been taught to feel, how to process. We've been taught to strategize before we've been taught to receive. We've been taught to protect ourselves before we were ever taught to rest. So love sometimes feels like a luxury, but survival feels like a responsibility. And when your life constantly demands responsibility, who the fuck has time for love? Let's be for real. Who has time for softness? Who has time for peace, for rest, for presence? This is why so many Black women stay in relationships where they're not truly being loved, where we're being chosen for reliability, loyalty, endurance. And we can confuse that for romance. A lot of the times we confuse that for romance. We confuse that for being cherished. We confuse that for partnership because we don't know what love feels like struggle attached. And that shit is sad as hell. And because this episode is about peeling back the real layers inside of us, I want to read something that one of my subscribers sent me verbatim because her comment is exactly what survival mode versus love looks like in real time. She wrote, I'm really at a loss for words. My heart has been heavy lately because my boyfriend told me I don't want growth like you. We were having a conversation about how I handle things in life. In general, I'm headstrong, get things done today instead of tomorrow. I'm a tourist, and by definition, too. I believe in freedom and evolution. I've been diagnosed bipolar 1. I'm super aware and have been in therapy since about 12. I'm 30. Processing my emotions are important to me. Understanding exactly what emotions I'm feeling and why did I react that way. What is that rooted in is key before I make decisions. I try to make decisions based in logic since bipolar is a personality disorder and emotion based. I'm always peeling back the layers of understanding myself. It's dear to me that I get to know who I am outside of my parents or outside influences. It's rare that I meet people with the same passion for this topic as me. So much awareness, grace, and patience comes with reparenting yourself, unlearning and relearning. I take it a day at a time. He makes me feel like I'm in a constant state of doing too much. I don't know. I feel like he gaslights me. I'm 30. And at what point do I look at my decisions and think, let's pivot? Something isn't working, including the people around me, and if they hold themselves accountable as well. This is that point. Either I reflect and evaluate or become stagnant and flatline out. I just feel like I can't fully experience life if I'm not aware of who I am. The more I understand me at my core, the better I've been able to shape my life around what I actually want so I don't feel the need for a vacation. I want to like my everyday self and life. This content is needed for Black women like me that are on the journey alone. Thank you. When I read that message, my first thought was, baby girl, sister, like sister in Christ. You are not doing too much. You are doing what grown people are supposed to do. It blows my mind how healing has become something that people treat like a personality flaw instead of a responsibility. You're doing the work. She's peeling back her triggers, examining her reactions, identifying her emotional patterns, challenging the wiring that came from trauma and disorder, and making decisions from clarity instead of chaos. That is not doing too much, my dear. That is exactly what adulthood requires. But survival mode people, people who are emotionally stagnant, people who have never done the internal work, people who are comfortable dysfunction, in dysfunction will always make you feel like your growth is doing too much because your evolution threatens their stagnation. It makes them feel a way, you know? And let me say this clearly. I don't want growth like you is one of the most honest and heartbreaking things someone can say because it reveals that they want the benefits of a healed partner while remaining unhealed themselves. Sad but true. They want the fruit without planting their own seeds. They want the patience, the grace, the self awareness, the emotional stability, the accountability, but they don't want to do the personal work required to match you, to meet you at your level. And that, my dear, creates resentment. That creates imbalance. That creates survival based relationships where one person is evolving and the other is trying to drag the relationship back into familiarity because growth feels threatening. It's scary. It's spooky out there, okay? And let's talk about therapy for a second because I believe very deeply, wholeheartedly, that everybody, yes, you, my friend, yes, you, my dear, listening to this podcast right now, every single person on this earth needs to be in therapy, myself included. Shout out to my therapist who is currently watching my episodes, okay? Shout out to my girl. But everybody needs to be in therapy. I cannot stress that shit enough. Everybody loves to talk about therapy. Is I think what gets me the most, before I go on a tangent, what gets me the most is that the people who have the loudest opinions about therapy have never been to a fucking therapist. They've never sat on the couch. They never talked to the lady. They've never talked to the fucking lady. You've never seen a therapist in your damn life. And they are the first people to say, I don't need therapy. Not because something is wrong with you. I'm not suggesting to go to therapy because I think something is wrong with you, but because life is complicated. Relationships are complicated. Your childhood was probably complicated. Money is complicated. Trauma is complicated. Attachment is complicated. Relationships are complicated. Y'all do not wait until your car explodes before you go get a fucking oil change, do you? Oh, okay. You go get maintenance every month. Y'all go get those oil changes. Some of y'all do. Because now that I'm saying it out loud, now that I'm actually saying it out loud, there is a shitload of people who will absolutely drive their car until the fucking wheels fall off with every single light on. So let me just shut the hell up. But you catch my drift, right? You do not wait for your car to blow up on the side of the road before you go get an oil change. So why would you wait for your life to fall apart before you go to therapy? I, I'm quickly. Therapy does not mean you are broken. It means you are responsible. You're being a grown up. You're trying to fix things. Her story is exactly why love versus survival is so layered for us. Because the truth is, many Black people, men and women, haven't been out of survival mode long enough to learn what true emotional safety feels like. That's just the fact of the matter. We've been surviving for generations. Our parents survived. Our parents' parents survived. Our great, great, great grandparents survived. Our ancestors survived. And that trauma trickles down. The flight or fight mindset is passed down through behavior, through silence, through coping mechanisms, through gender roles, through our fears, through our expectations. So many of us love from survival wounds, not from a healthy heart. Think about that. Think about that for a moment. Now that we've cut into our external layer, let's get into the internal layer, the relational layer, the messy middle, if you will. So there was a TikTok that I saw that not necessarily inspired this episode, but that I want you guys to see because, again, this is such a wide layered topic, right? So let me insert this TikTok video and we'll come back.
When people say black relationships take more work, they're not wrong. But most people don't understand why that work exists. And it's not just about personality or gender, it's about psychological conditioning that has shaped the way we experience safety, love, and responsibility. The foundation of most black relationships starts with survival. And I want you to think back. Okay, so for generations, survival was our only priority. So that means emotional development, learning how to express, depend, repair, communicate. All of that was secondary. It wasn't important. It wasn't on our mind. You can't build emotional literacy when you're trying to stay alive, when you're trying to survive. So what gets passed down are defense strategies, not intimacy skills. So if we fast forward to now, when two people meet, they're both bringing in those habits that they learned growing up, the ones built around survival, not connection. That's the part that makes relationships feel heavier right now. We know how to stay guarded. We know how to avoid depending on anybody. We know how to function alone. What we don't always know is how to let someone all the way in. So even in good relationships, there can be tension. When you're used to chaos or distance, consistency feels strange to some degree. You start waiting for something to go wrong, not because it is, but because peace doesn't match the pattern that you grew up with. And then there's what we were taught about independence too. In a lot of black families, needing help was seen as a weakness. Black women are told growing up, never need a man, make sure you get your education so you can take care of yourself. And black men are told, never show weakness, don't cry, men don't cry. Both are forms of emotional suppression disguised as strength. So on paper, it sounds and it looks good. It sounds resilient, but in real life, in practice, it builds isolation to some degree. So when people finally want connection, they don't always know what it looks like to rely on someone without feeling like they're losing themselves. And to that, the lack of healthy modeling as well. So many of us didn't see couples who talked through conflict or showed affection in consistent ways. We might have seen loyalty, but not communication. We may have seen toxic relationships that endured, but not have softness. And now we're out here trying to build something that we've rarely ever witnessed in real life. So I think that's the real reason it takes more work, is that we're not just learning how to love, we're unlearning protection. We're trying to figure out what closeness looks like when it's not attached to struggle. And I don't think it's a bad thing. It just means that our generation is the ones that have enough space to do it differently, because our ancestors didn't. The people before us didn't have that luxury. They had to focus on surviving to get us to this point. So we get to focus on the healing. So when people say black relationships take more work, yes. But the work isn't dysfunction, it's transformation. I think we're building emotional skills that were never passed down to us, and we're turning independence into interdependence, and we're making a conscious effort to have connection as a form of healing.
Okay, so let's dig a little deeper because everything that she touched on in that video requires more depth. It she said so much but said so little at the same time because again, the a bigger part of what I want to do on Everything is Onions is continue to piece by piece break down how so many things are all really tied up into one big onion. Um, she mentioned so many things and how one thing leads to another, leads to another. It's quite literally a domino effect when it comes to the things that I'm addressing today. If you started from the beginning of my episodes and you're here now, it almost sounds like everything is like a prerequisite where I started off talking about ignorance is bliss and if you knew better, you do better and big grown-ups. And here we are talking about love versus the Bible. And it almost feels like all of these things, I'm talking about different things while I'm also talking about the same things because relationships in the Black community don't happen in a vacuum. They happen in the context of systemic pressure, generational trauma, economic instability, survival conditioning, gender expectations, social media chaos, emotional neglect, and cultural norms that we have all inherited without choosing. Love versus survival in the Black community in Black relationships is complicated because a lot of couples are not actually in love. Hate to hate to say it, they're in partnership for survival. Survival of finances, survival of loneliness, survival of parenting, survival of trauma, survival of bills, survival of the world. We normalize struggle love. We romanticize it. We make movies about it. Because if nobody has ever fucking told you, love and basketball was a fucking horror story. Okay? They have put that goddamn movie out there and everybody and their mom loves to act like love and basketball is some beautiful love story. And it's a fucking horror movie. Are you serious? What do you mean? What do you mean? Play me for my heart? Hmm. I could not imagine. This man is the air quotes love of my life. We play basketball together. That's our thing. That's where we bonded over the years. And our moment of truth on a basketball court, you tell me to play me for your heart and then you fucking dunk on me. And this y'all y'all want me to be convinced that Love and Basketball is a love story. It quite literally started out with that man pushing her to the fucking ground when he found out she was a girl, and I don't think she was dunking on him, but she was literally getting buckets. And he found out she was a girl and pushed her ass down. He pushed her off the bike. He absolutely hated that girl. He hated her, but he admired her. He liked who she was. It was almost as if he saw her as a mirror to him. And even when they were in college, when Quincy found out that his dad was cheating on his mom, the idea that he grew up in a two-parent household, he was living the dream, you know? He had the parents, the basketball player dad, the beautiful mom, the beautiful house. He had everything that a lot of people wish that they had. And he thought that his parents had a great relationship, and that absolutely crumbled his idea of his father. And he lashed out at Monica. Their whole relationship from start to finish, that man was lashing out on her. He took every fucking thing out on her. And again, you have people in the Black community that will sit there and tell you that Love and Basketball is a love story. When indeed, like I said, it's a fucking horror story. It is the epitome of struggle love. Sorry I went off on a tangent, but yeah, every time I think about that and I think about the idea of struggle love, Love and Basketball always comes to mind. And it's even funnier because we literally reward that shit. Like I said, everybody loves to talk about Love and Basketball. We say things like, hold him down, stick beside him. I'm gonna stick beside him. My man, my man, my man. That's a good man, Savannah. And I said this on TikTok one time, but even the context of that's a good man, Savannah, that in fact was not a fucking good man. In Waiting to Exhale, if you are unfamiliar with the reference from That's a Good Man, Savannah, Whitney Houston's character, her mother had called her on the phone and was trying to convince her to be with a married man. Think about that. We love saying that's a good man, Savannah. It's funny, like to say, yes. But every time I hear somebody say that, I always kind of have pause because do you actually understand the reference? Like, do you even know? Like, are you being funny? To attempt to convince your daughter to engage with a married man because he throw you a couple dollars here and there and have the audacity to say that's a good man, Savannah, is crazy. Again, like that is something that happens all the time. People say shit like, oh, relationships take work, but nobody ever clarifies what kind of work they're talking about. Growth work, survival work, root work. You have to be specific, my love. You really do. Because half of what we call love is really just two traumatized people trying not to drown each other. And I know that sounds harsh. I know that sounds crazy, but if you really sit back, it's the truth. It's really the truth. So if you ask somebody what they love about their partner, man or woman, they will tell you things that the person does for them or can do for them. And while I said that, let's talk about money because money shapes love a lot more than people want to admit. I'm just going to throw that out there. I literally just saw um, a few different clips from a few different podcasts. I think the guy that was speaking was more so saying, "Oh, if whenever I'm dating women, they won't mess with me if I don't have money. And then if I do get with them and something happens, the money runs dry or something, something comes up and I'm broke, then they're the first people to run away." And something that I find funny about when men talk about women in correlation to finances, in correlation to gold diggers or pick me's, I always find it funny how the men who lead with money are usually the men who say that. The men who lead with money, not leading with personality, the men who lead with money are mad that the women that they like them for their money. It's like the thought. goes over their head. The idea, the concept of, well, I don't, women only like me for my money. If that is the only thing that you present to them, what else would you expect them to like you for? I don't know. Um, that just never makes any sense. And the same thing with women. If you only date men with money, you have to expect a certain kind of man in return. Most of the time, again, hate to be the bearer of bad news, but most of the time, when you're dealing with men with money, you are not going to be dealing with men with morals. Hate to be the bearer of bad news. And I say this all the time. Just because a man, I don't like the buzzwords. I truly don't. But something to think about. A lot of people talk about high value men, high value women. And I always find those things funny, those conversations funny, because just because someone is a high earner, they make a lot of money, does not make them high value in my book. If the only thing that is of high value, man or woman, if the only thing about you is that is of high value is your income, to me you are low hanging fruit. What makes someone high value to me is someone who is honest, someone who is loyal, someone who is a man of faith, a man of their word, someone who is not an addict. And when I say an addict, I mean that all the way across the board because addiction can show up in so many different places. So again, there are so many things that um, you can look at when it comes to air quotes, high value men, high value women. But I'm sorry, just because you make a lot of money does not make you high value to me. Not gonna lie. Black people live under more financial stress than any other racial group in America. Inflation, wage disparities, underemployment, generational property, lack of resources, all of that impacts who we date, how we date, why we stay, and why we leave. People don't like to admit this, but survival relationships often form when two people are trying to make ends meet, not build a bond. Let's just call a spade a spade. Safety becomes more important than connection. Stability becomes more important than emotional fulfillment. It's not, do I love you? It becomes, can I afford to leave? And that is survival mode, not intimacy. And the saddest part is that many Black couples never experience love without the pressure of survival because survival has always been present. Unfortunately, that's the sad and unfortunate part. We're only one or two generations removed from segregation, redlining, mass incarceration, welfare restrictions, voting bans, financial exclusion, and whole communities being intentionally underfunded. Black people have not had the generational luxury of emotional safety. And when you spend centuries fighting to exist, love becomes a battlefield, not a sanctuary. But the truth is that survival mode kills intimacy. Survival mode makes men defensive. Survival mode makes women guarded. Survival mode makes both people hyper independent, hyper paranoid, hyper critical, hyper attached. When you're in survival mode, you cannot hear love clearly. You can't receive affection deeply. You cannot process discomfort gently. You cannot relax into vulnerability. Your nervous system is too busy trying to predict danger. And if danger is what you grew up with, love might feel foreign, too quiet, too gentle, too unfamiliar, too safe. Which brings me back to my point about therapy. If I could tattoo a message on my forehead in America, if I could slap a sign on my forehead, it would say, go to therapy. Dead ass. Not in a condescending way, but in a you deserve emotional clarity kind of way. Black people need therapy, not because we are weak, Not because we've been strong, but because we've been strong for far too long. We have been carrying wounds that are not ours. We have normalized emotional survival as a personality trait. We have confused shutdown with discipline. We have confused numbness with maturity. We've confused hyper independence with strength. We have confused attachment, anxiety with passion. We've confused trauma bonding with loyalty. Yeah. A lot of confusion. A lot of confusion. And at some point, we ourselves, each and every one of us individually has to make these steps for ourselves. We have to work through the confusion. We have to heal through the confusion. Now, let's cut into our last segment. No tears, just truth. Here's the truth about love versus survival. Black people deserve relationships rooted in safety and not survival. I'm going to say it again. Black people deserve relationships, Black men and Black women deserve relationships rooted in safety, not survival. We deserve partners who see our wounds and help us heal them, not reopen them. We deserve affection that doesn't demand self abandonment. We deserve intimacy without punishment. We deserve to love somebody else without fear. We deserve to love without requirements for suffering. And the truth is that every single person listening to this, men and women, have a responsibility to heal themselves before partnering with anybody because love cannot thrive where survival is still in charge. Love needs safety. Love needs clarity. Love needs self awareness. Love needs accountability. Love needs softness, honesty, vulnerability, the truth. And the truth is, nobody in our community can love properly until they learn how to communicate and understand each other. There, I said it. And we're going to talk about that in the next episode because you cannot build love if you do not know how to express your needs, listen without defensiveness, and understand the wounds behind someone's reactions to your words. Love versus survival is the foundation, but communication and understanding are the blueprint. That's today's peel. And if you feel like this episode made you feel seen or made you reflect or pushed you to question yourself a little bit deeper, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. Old subscribers, new subscribers, I appreciate every single one of you. And if you guys have not noticed, new merch is in. Hello, get into the t-shirt. The Everything is Onions t-shirt. Yeah, clock that T. And we also have get rid of the Stanleys, y'all. Okay, I love this. It is my Everything is Onions tumbler. Love that. And another piece of merch that I wanted to show you guys is the Everything is Onions journal. I am so excited about my podcast launch. I'm so excited about my merch. I have t-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts, tumblers, mugs. Lions, tigers, bears. Oh my. I will also be doing a t-shirt giveaway where I will be paying for you guys, all of my subscribers, to get a t-shirt. All you have to pay for is shipping and handling. So I would suggest that you guys, if you do want to support your girl and Everything is Onions, to wait until I do a 2-week t-shirt giveaway. You can get a free t-shirt with anything else you purchase. So that'll probably be your best bet to wait. Make sure you tune in, listen to your girl, because I will let you guys know when I'll be doing the t-shirt drop. But I have so much merch. I have so many thoughts, so many ideas, and I am so excited. I really, before I close out, want to say, um, I dropped my pod last week and the support has been overwhelming. And I want to thank everybody, like seriously, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for subscribing and listening and commenting. The fact that I literally was able to use one of my subscribers' comments in this episode really made my heart warm. So I am so, so, so excited for this journey, and I cannot wait for the next episode. I can't wait to continue peeling back these onions with you all. I'm so excited. I appreciate everyone that is supporting me. Once again, I am your host with the most, Coco, and this has been another episode of Everything is Onions. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Love you guys. Bye.